Antennas, 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 antennas. Antennas, 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 antennas. Shitty antennas. Expensive antennas. Inexpensive antennas. Broken antennas. Antennas. Your antenna is the most important part of your station. Yes, you can have a crap transceiver. Honestly, you can. It just can't do too much spurious emissions. It can't have too many birdies on it. Okay? You can have a meh power supply. Again, you just can't have too many birdies on it. It can't interfere with your TXing. It can't interfere with your reception. The one thing that will completely ruin your QTH is poor grounding and a poor antenna. And if you are running your station off of a power supply which runs off of mains, your antenna is probably significantly larger than you think. What I mean by that is your antenna is ground, the power supply is ground, and the radio is ground are all the same thing if you're plugged into the wall. And a lot of people don't know this, but your house is already an amazing high-frequency antenna, as is your electrical grid. Your electrical grid is so good at pulling down high frequency, they actually have all this shunting and everything else that go along the grid to be able to get that RF that collects on those lines out and back into Earth. When it hits your house and you throw up a radio antenna and you plug everything in, you lengthen the ground significantly. And this is probably the source of a lot of newer hams QRM. Probably is. If you are running portable ops and you are running everything through a car, stop. My opinion, stop. Like, there's just no way to properly ground a car. Build a battery pack, do your portables off of a battery. Radios like batteries. A good power supply for a wall is just going to fool a radio into thinking that it has the constant current and voltage of a battery, and it doesn't have any ripple, this, that, and the other. To a radio, AC ripple is a frequency. So any AC ripple is gonna mess that stuff up. When you're all plugged into your wall, your ground is your house ground. It should be obvious. For some people it's not, okay? And additionally, if you're plugged into the wall and you decide, hey, you know what? I'm not getting good grounding. I'm gonna ground out my radio. I'm going to ground out the antenna, try and pull down some more signal. Stop. You've made a terrible mistake, and you don't understand how grounding or electricity actually work. And you need to go back to your book, and you need to read and think about why this is a mistake. And additionally, I'll explain it to you right now. If you ground your QTH better than the rest of your home, your home ground will now be the ground in your station, which makes your problems manifold worse, right? If you are really hunting for perfect ground, no ripple, the only solution is an isolated battery supply for your radio. That's the only solution. And by the way, lithium iron phosphate, LiPo4. I don't like these batteries for radios. And I'll tell you why. All LiFePO4 batteries have to have a BMS, a battery management system. That's a tiny little computer that's going in there all the time, switching on and off to make sure that the battery is safe and healthy to operate. That's going to cause QRM. End of discussion. Computer equal QRM. Computer equal interference. Period. So, right now, my QTH, I'm running it off of the wall and this, that, and the other, having a grand old time. But the future, it's going to be battery supply. It's going to be a fully portable, semi-permanent type thing. Um, and I'm going to be entirely isolated from the electrical grid, period. Because that's really how you want to operate. Otherwise, you are operating on the electrical grid. And that means you're going to have to deal with the spurious effects and this, that, and the other that suppress all of the signal that you want on the grid. And most of that stuff is coming through the neutral wire, the ground wire on a 3-prong system. And that's just how it all works. That's how, when we connect conductors, we electrically lengthen it. And once it's electrically long enough, it begins to resonate at frequencies that radio operators like to play on. For me, that's high frequency. For some people, that's going to be VHF. VHF is going to be really easy to broadcast off of because the conductors are so much smaller than with high frequency. So with that being said, happy hunting. And be very mindful of how your antenna actually works. Addendum. The reason why I got that crummy antenna was literally just to, even though it was expensive, was literally just to calibrate where I should be putting my mast when I set it up. I just wanted to figure that out, so I got a nice tunable omnidirectional to really get it dialed in very well. And then a 20-knot gust of wind toppled the mast and blew apart the antenna, which I was like really confident was going to happen, because when I'm moving the thing around constantly, I'm not going to guy it down, operate for 10 minutes, spend 20 minutes on guying it, whatever. No. I'm leaning it up against the building, leaning it up against the shed. All right, figuring out what's good, moving it again, figuring out what's good. During this process, it collapsed, as I knew that it would. And now I'm operating with my end-fed half-wave Balun, and honestly getting amazing signal throughout. I am common grounded to my house ground, and when I'm operating, I am such a stickler, it's a bit annoying. I try and have as little digital equipment running as possible, because all digital equipment does is cause interference. It's a bizarre paradox, but it's the truth. You want to use digital equipment to get better signal, but in using digital equipment, we create interference. The only real way around that is some form of optical isolation and processing and this, that, the other, but that gets complicated, and that's certainly a topic for another video. In the meantime, I encourage everybody that's watching to my channel to really brush up on propagation theory and antenna theory, and to really think about what grounding means. There's grounding in an electrical sense, and then there's grounding in a radio frequency sense. And they are a little different, and the radio frequency sense requires, in my opinion, significantly more nuance than, all respect to tradesmen and everything else, than just an electrician's version of earth ground. If it was the same thing, we would have the same kinds of skills that operate on both, but they are different things. So study your RF ground, think about what RF ground is and means, think about how that affects your antenna. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.